Hey there, MJ with Henshin Inspection and Going Ultra and all sorts of other things. Wishing you a happy Ultraman Day, Ultramaniacs. I wouldn't say I get to be called an Ultramaniac because, I like the stories, but I'm not, I'm not quoting things about Ultraman, except for I love Jeed's, well, I can't even quote it, so I'm not going to. Anyway, but just, yeah, it's cool. It's, July 10th, 2024. It's Ultraman Day. Ultraman arc just started. Watched that first episode. Talked about that. Ultraman Rising. We've watched that probably 3 to 4.5 times now. The half-ish times are because I was kind of on in the background and kids were being distracting or whatever. But that's a good movie. Not the first day it came out, but pretty soon, within the first week it came out, I went ahead and watched that with my kids, and all of them sat down with me, and we were all stuck there for 2 hours, and it was fantastic. There were tears, there were laughs. It was great. So that's a great movie, and it's interesting in watching Ultraman Arc after watching Ultraman Rising. There are some interesting similarities, and I don't fully understand the production process of it. I don't know. I feel like Ultraman Rising was mentioned like 2 years ago in 2022, and we knew that they wanted to do it, and I feel kind of like it was almost in direct response to Spider-Verse coming out, the first one. So maybe not 2 years ago is when it was announced, because we had that image of the really skinny Ultraman doing his thing. And I think we had like that, like it was an abstract image of him, and you could tell he was lanky, and that the animation style was going to be different, more unique and more stylistic and less realistic, which is good, wonderful. And anyway, it was it was a really good movie. But it also got me thinking about Subaraya's imagination thing. And the promo that they put out, I don't know, a month or two ago, and it's one of the first things on their official English YouTube channel, which I'm watching Arc on now. I hope they migrate like Blazar and Z and all the other English stuff, that Regulus, all the different things that they have dubbed into English over there. That would be great for it to just build up this whole big channel. That would be super cool. A lot easier to put the kids over there, because my kids will watch Z. And when they want to watch that, I have to kind of sift through and try to find, they'll watch either the Japanese or the English, but I figure if they're going to watch it, they should understand the story, so they should watch the English version of it. And so it'll be easier if it's on the English only channel. But yeah, they're definitely not averse to it. They've watched Jeed all the way through at least once, obviously in Japanese, on Shout TV, I think, is where they watched it. Anyway, so, but I'd love if they gave Jeed a dub, because dubs are a lot easier for me to watch, a lot faster, and I'd like to get to experience that show. But anyway, what's my point? This imagination theme that Subaraya is focusing on, and it's directly referenced in Arc. Yuma, unleash your imagination. It's really interesting, and it's really impressive. And I have to say, it's a little funny that imagination is their thing, because I like Ultraman. I want to make that clear. The designs for the Ultramen are very similar, and they don't show a lot of uniqueness. And like the flash that we gotten of Yuma's armor, for his different forms, I guess, from his unleashing his imagination, they remind me a little bit of Ultraman X, or maybe Ultraman Orbs. I think it's X more, who gets like kaiju part armor type stuff. They remind me a little bit more of that, those form changes. And I guess my roundabout way of saying this is, I find that the imagination in this is interesting. If you just look at them side by side, the brands, I would say Kamen Rider and maybe even Super Sentai have a lot more. There's a wider spectrum of visual elements that are used for their shows than Ultraman. Ultraman have a much more cohesive look, I'll say that. whereas Super Sentai and Ultra Riders look a lot different from each other. And one could say superficially that means that the imagination that goes into Super Sentai and Kamen Rider is superior. However, I kind of think I would say that my imagination has been captured more by Ultraman stories, the few Ultraman stories that I've enjoyed, and like it's a more thoughtful property. There's still monster fighting, which is great, but it's a more thoughtful property, and it like animates the imagination more. It's less of a spectacle. It's less of like a poppy candy type thing, and it's more of something that has like a staying power, and there's like a resonance of truth or something in Ultraman. And I would say that's good. That's definitely a compliment. But I would also say that I think that's where they're going, or that's where they're coming from when they talk about imagination being like a core thing to Ultraman. And again, going back, you could superficially say that it's less imaginative because there's, not a praying mantis Ultraman. There's not a baby shark Ultraman. There's not a flag Ultraman. There's not a stop sign Ultraman. Whereas you would have all those different types of Kamen Riders eventually, right? And I think it's really interesting. I think it's interesting how much deeper the stories of Ultraman are. And I want to talk about Ultraman Rising separately on its own at some point, just like I've talked about Arc. But in rewatching Rising so much, and why am I rewatching it? Because of the spectacular special effects? Not really. It looks great. The stylistic... One of my daughters I don't really like the style, but it was still cool. And I kind of feel the same way about it. It's very angular. Some of the necks are very long. But still, I'd rather see that than... I'd rather see the uniqueness than the homogeneity. I don't want everything looking all the same. I can watch Tokusatsu, real Tokusatsu. I can look out my window and see houses that all look the same, people that all look the same. So in the animation, I really like them, taking it and putting it in a different direction. But it was interesting in watching Ultraman Rising, the way that movie is structured is really interesting because it does spark the imagination in another way. Well, it hooks you emotionally, definitely, for sure. The beginning hooks you emotionally. All throughout, there's little things that just pull you emotionally closer to the story. And it makes the story stick more in my mind. And it makes me think about different things, different possibilities. Not only, less so for the characters, more for the world building, honestly. So, the world building aspects of it are sparking a lot of imagination to me. And honestly, with Arc 2, this is a different universe. There's never been an Ultraman before. It's been 16 years since K-Day. There were 7 kaiju that appeared at first. 7. This is 7. There were 7 kaiju that appeared at first. What are all these things? There's all these unstated questions that are invisible questions, I think is what they call them in writing, that make the audience think think about the story and say, I wonder what this is. And in turn, that gets you thinking about the story itself, and then it gets you thinking more deeply and more deeply attached to the property in a way. And I just really think that's interesting. So what did I say? I said Ultraman's high quality. I said that it's sticking in my mind, and I said that I can't stop thinking about the world building aspects of Rising, and to some extent Arc as well, and that's all good stuff. So anyway, I have that to say. I have hopefully I'll talk about Ultraman Rising either very soon or today on Ultraman Day, and I know that's all I have to say. So take care, make it an Ultra Day, be your ultra best self. I hope you enjoyed that. Subscribe to keep up with me. Like and share to help me reach more people like you. And go to mjmunoz.com to find your next favorite thing. And don't forget to let your voice be heard. Stories are always better when you're part of the conversation. Until next time, be well. This is MJ signing out. This has been a Story Over Everything production.